Good morning, everyone. How y'all doing? Happy hump day, and welcome to the Salty Goddess Podcast, your midweek guilty pleasure. Happy hump day. I'm Margaret Perry, and today we are going to discuss something that is making me very salty these days: women's health. Very specifically, women's sexual health and reproductive health, but women's health in general. We're talking about how those symptoms of menopause get minimized, mislabeled, monetized, and why it's not an accident. We'll cover the history that sidelined women in research, the reality at home, at work, what's starting to change, surely not quickly enough, of course. Not going to give any treatment advice today. We're just going to talk receipts and reality checks. So here's the salty truth. If I were a man and I had erectile dysfunction, I promise you, this system, this medical system, would move mountains overnight. For hot flashes, brain fog, sleep wreckage, or sleep disturbances. Women are told, this is your new normal. Suck it up. Get accustomed to it. This is life. Grow old gracefully. Everyone goes through it. That's not healthcare. That's not listening to your patient. That, my friends, is bullshit. Plain and simple. Okay? So here's the double standard. We've had four, count them, 4 FDA-approved oral medications for erectile dysfunction since 1988. For hot flashes, the first modern medicine that also targets brain circuitry showed up in 2023, a full 25 years later. 25 years. That gap says the quiet part out loud about the way in which women are treated in healthcare. I could talk to you about how it was not believed that women could even have an MI because they didn't have stress. Or how MI, meaning myocardial infarction, a heart attack, was mislabeled and misdiagnosed, and women were sent home and then found dead on the floor the next morning because, in fact, it wasn't hysteria, it wasn't stress, it wasn't depression. It was a typical presentation. Women don't get substernal crushing chest pain. They get agita, GI upsets. They don't get jaw pain, arm pain on the left. They get atypical pain. So it was dismissed often, quite often, so often that Valium prescriptions were written mostly for women right about the time they'd have the MI. All right, that's the problem. How'd we get here? Last time I checked, women give birth. And that's not to diminish a man's role in reproduction. That's not what I'm saying here. Okay? So, 1977, the FDA told researchers to keep women who could get pregnant out of early trials for hormones. All right. How'd we get here? Just so you don't think that it's been imagined. In 1977, the FDA was told to keep women who could get pregnant out of early trials. That blunt policy got applied widely and shaped decades of data built on male bodies. It didn't start to reverse until the 1990s. The 1990s. Studies that rewired public opinion in 2002, that one study, the Women's Health Initiative, used conjugated equine estrogens and medroxyprogesterone. And yes, I'm reading from notes so I can be accurate. They did not use human estradiol. That's what we make, estradiol, not estrogen. And we sure as shit don't make equine estrogen. Okay? So, conjugated equine estrogen comes from pregnant mares and from its urine. The nuance got lost, that nuance, estrogen versus estradiol. And the fear stuck. We didn't undertreat menopause because women are dramatic. We undertreated it because we understudied. We failed to properly study women. So, this isn't a vibe, my friends. This is life. This is life. Okay? What happens? Our daily quality of life, our sleep, our mood, our cognition is all affected by the loss of progesterone, estradiol, and testosterone. Okay? These symptoms don't last just a few months. The SWAN cohort states that frequent hot flashes lasted a median of 7.4 years. And if they started early in a woman's life, think even longer, like 10 years plus, a decade plus with hot flashes. If you have never experienced a hot flash, you have no idea what it feels like. You cannot cool off. You can't. It's from the inside out. So warm you get, you begin to sweat, and it's so uncomfortable. Your sleep suffers. That means that if your sleep suffers, you're not getting restorative sleep. If you're not getting restorative sleep, do you think you are able to function during the day? I promise you can't. So, daytime function takes a nosedive. Brain fog, common in perimenopause, often time limited, but when you're in it, you're in it. And I want you to think about that. Brain fog. It lasts for months. Months. Do you want someone with brain fog, whether they be man or woman, doesn't matter, handling your vehicle maintenance, your surgery, your medication, your diagnoses? Brain fog is real. It is real. You go from being able to function without having a list to needing a list, and then a list for where you put the list. It's that debilitating. This is no joke. And you wonder why? Why is it a problem today in 2025? But it wasn't a problem in 1970. Let me tell you why. Not all women worked outside the home. They worked inside the home. And if they were organized, then they were able to find workarounds for this brain fog. Okay? Some of the things that they would do on the daily, laundry, dishes, cooking, it was muscle memory. Okay? Shopping, etc. Nothing was mission critical. Okay? Dinner being a few minutes late, not a big deal. A load of laundry not getting laundered until the next day, not a big deal. So most women just learn to limp along and deal with it. And no one was going to fire her from her full-time job of being a mom, of being a housemaker, a homemaker, a housewife. Nobody's going to fire her from that. Today, in 2025, we are working, and we are working past menopause. Do you see how that might be an issue? when your job is mission critical, when your responsibilities are mission critical, can you start to see why many women ages 40, 48 to 55 are being let go? And we're hearing managers, supervisors, and HR say things like, we don't know what happened. Just all of a sudden, she couldn't do her job. All of a sudden, she was distracted. All of a sudden, she couldn't meet deadlines. She couldn't be organized. Friends, it's from a decline in our mental capacity due to the loss of hormones. It's not just, I'm no longer going to get my menses every month. It's no longer, I can't get pregnant. Woo-hoo. It's not that. Friends, it's all of the things. Our bodies are meant to be in homeostatic balance the entire time we're living. And when we're not in homeostatic balance, I think it makes sense that things are going to go awry. I hope it makes sense anyway. So when you make that appointment to see that GYN or that primary care physician, and your complaints are, I'm fatigued, I have brain fog, I'm having difficulty keeping track of even the most basic things that I used to be able to do. The fear is it's early onset Alzheimer's, or I've had a CVA, a stroke, or there's something else going on. It's simply the loss of progesterone, estradiol, and testosterone in our systems. And until recently, if you showed up and began those complaints, the response you received from your provider, whether it be a nurse practitioner, a physician's associate, or an MD or a DO, so medical doctor or doctor of osteopathy, you were told, yeah, get used to it. It's your new normal. There's really nothing we can do. Oh, if you're having hot flashes, we can give you some cream. You're going to have to put it on every day. And it's gross and it's messy. And if you're having difficulty sleeping, we could give you some progesterone, but we really don't think you need that. I think once the hot flashes resolve, you shouldn't need anything else. So they simply replaced one of three. So 1/3 of the missing hormones. Does that sound like a body in homeostasis to you? Because it sure the fuck don't sound like it to me. Okay? It's not. So, what happens? Think about this. 7.4 years. And for those that start early, they can have these symptoms for 10 years or more, double-digit years. All right? So what happens? What happens when thermoregulation and sleep are chaotic? Your productivity tanks. A Mayo Clinic Proceedings study estimated $1.8 billion a year in lost work time. 26.6 billion, including medical costs in the U.S. alone. Friends, that's not a toughen up scenario. That's a macroeconomic issue. Okay? Now I'm also going to talk about the quiet part, the part that nobody really likes to talk about. Let's say this quiet part out loud together. Genitourinary syndrome of menopause can turn sexual intimacy into straight up avoidance. What? Surveys and studies report 58% of women say discomfort during intercourse harms the relationship. 59% report impaired sexual function, along with impaired sleep and self-image issues. So self-image degradation. That's not prudish. Okay, that's pain. And I'll explain to you what happens. The loss of estradiol means your mucosal membranes dry up. When your mucosal membranes dry up, they shrink. When they shrink and become friable because they're dry, you get more UTIs. Intercourse becomes painful. You don't provide natural lubrication to make penetration comfortable. Does that sound like a good time to anybody? And God forbid, a woman should say, I need something more here. God forbid they should enjoy their sex or their sex life or want intimacy, because men are supposed to want that. Women are supposed to play hard to get. I think not. Y'all know my belief. Every day that ends in Y and twice on Sundays. That's right. That's the way it should be. Let's talk about job performance and workplace reality for women going through menopause. Robust U.S. data links symptoms of menopause and perimenopause with absenteeism and what's also known as presenteeism, meaning they show up, but they're not present in the moment. In the UK, a major report found that 1 in 10 women have left a job due to symptoms. Wow. Equity gaps are worse for disabled women. Academics debate the exact figure, but even the critiques say the signal is big and the data needs to be better. We cannot make evidence-based decisions or protocols without data. So we need good data. If we've got shit data, we've got shit protocols. Simple. I think that makes sense to everybody, right? So calling this loss of productivity, this loss of sexual function, this increase in brain fog, this increase in pain, calling it your new normal, that's not medical care. It's a transfer of the costs of this care onto women, their families, and even businesses. Hey, all you managers and your business owners, this affects you too. Think about that for a second. We just said 1.8 billion a year in lost work time. Can y'all afford that? Do you want to afford that? I wouldn't want to. I don't want lost productivity. I own businesses. I own a medical clinic. I'm a nurse practitioner. I don't want to lose income because I'm symptomatic with perimenopause or menopausal symptoms. That is not acceptable to me. It's not. So let's talk about this. So count them. Sildenafil, 1998. Tadalafil, 2003. Vardenafil, 2003. Avanafil, 2012. Men asked, pharma answered. Trials moved. Meanwhile, in a first-in-class non-hormonal hot flash drug. Now I'm going to screw this up when I go to pronounce this. Fezolinetant. I'm saying it wrong. I said taint. Didn't mean to do that. All right. Arrived in 2023. Same planet. Totally different level of urgency. Totally different level. If hot flashes happened to scrotums, we'd have a Super Bowl ad about it. But sadly, we don't. So what's changing these days? What's changing? I'm going to tell you what's changing. There are tailwinds, right? The White House Initiative on Women's Health Research is pushing agencies to prioritize women's health. All right. ARPA-H, it's the Sprint for Women's Health, is funding fast turn projects. 23 awards were announced in October 2024. Non-hormonal innovation. Okay. This new drug from 2023 the approval opened a new class. They're called NK3 antagonists. Now, they're not for everyone, and there are rare issues that can happen, which, let's be honest, friends, can happen with anything we put into our bodies. All right. But the existence of a class built for this problem matters. Employers are starting to wake up and understand that with costs in the billions, workplaces are starting to add temperature control, uniform updates, flexibility, and, dare I say, manager education. Again, putting dollars where their mouth is instead of just good vibes and this is your new normal. Suck it up, buttercup. All right. So what can we do? What can we do? When you see your healthcare provider, describe the impact of crappy sleep, of that brain fog, and how it's affecting your work and will eventually affect your income and health insurance. No health insurance, no income, no doctor visits, no healthcare provider visits, and your relationships. Not just the symptoms. This brain fog, I've missed deadlines at work. I'm going to get fired. This loss of testosterone, I have zero libido, haven't had intercourse with my spouse, haven't had a desire to in 16 weeks. What? Is that normal, friends? That's not normal. Not in your 40s, not in your 50s. No, that shouldn't be normal. Okay? And talk about how this is impacting every aspect of your life. Okay? Point to the Menopause Society's neutral resources for plain English education. At work, speak to HR for sensible support systems. Okay? Temperature control, breathable uniforms if needed, some flexibility, training for managers, as I discussed earlier. All right, share the cost data. This is occupational health. This is not your shitty attitude. It's not. All right. Also, take the time to check out those White House initiatives, support orgs that are pushing for that inclusive research. But the real tea, in 1990s or in 1977, they were told to exclude women who could get pregnant from early trials. And that didn't begin to change until the 1990s, as I mentioned. Then a landmark 2002 trial done with horse urine-derived estrogen plus a specific progestin in older women became a universal caution sign even for younger folks and other regimens. Meanwhile, erectile dysfunction got 4 pills in 14 years. Women's first modern brain-targeted hot flash medication did not come on the market until 2023. Is that a double standard? I say it is. It absolutely is. The good news, Washington has finally opened the money spigot for women's health research, real research. And employers are waking up to the cost of pretending that this is the new normal or that it should be the new normal. It shouldn't be. All right? So make sure that you openly discuss how these symptoms are causing a degradation in your quality of life. Who doesn't want to get restorative sleep? Who doesn't want to keep their weight in an ideal weight class? I went through menopause later than usual for most. Okay. When I arrived at my doctor's office, I said, something's not right, because all of a sudden in January of this year, I was extremely fatigued. I would wake up even after 6 hours of sleep and still want to nap in the middle of the afternoon, and want to go to bed even earlier than I was. I was not getting restorative sleep. I had brain fog so bad. I went from being able to manage multiple projects and multiple things to not even being able to remember where I put the list I just wrote. That degradation in brain function was probably the most debilitating part of it. Then I began to put on weight for no reason. Nothing had changed about my diet. Nothing had changed about my exercise routine. And anybody that knows me knows I don't exercise. Nothing had changed about what I was eating. Nothing. But suddenly, 8 pounds arrived out of nowhere. And the following month, the same thing. And the same thing the next month. So I made an appointment. I went to go see my GYN. To which he said, I did your blood work last year. And because of you being in your 50s, I did check estradiol, FSH, testosterone, and your progesterone. And you had normal levels for a childbearing age woman. So I can't imagine that anything has really changed. It's only been like 10 months. He goes, and I doubt that the insurance company is going to pay for you to have this blood work redrawn and run. To which I said, we need to do something, so let's do it anyway. And if I have to pay out of pocket, I will do. I know I was fortunate that I could afford to say that. And surprisingly, though, the insurance company did pay. Even more surprising, suddenly I had level 0 for all 3 hormones. In 10 months, I went from childbearing age, normal levels, to 0 in 10 months. My follow-up appointment with my physician, he said, I have never seen that. I've been a GYN for 30 plus years. I've never seen anybody do that. I said, what are we going to do about it? And he goes, Mom, do you have hot flashes? No, I've never had one. Not a one. Are you having difficulty sleeping? No. As a matter of fact, I sleep twice as much now as I ever did, but I'm still tired all the time. Yeah, there's nothing we can do. This is your new normal. And I looked at him and said, the fuck it is. No. That is not acceptable to me. If this is going to be the new normal, I'm going to put on 8 pounds a month every month. To which I was told to put down the snacks and start moving around more. And there were no extra snacks, my friend. So I left and I decided that I was going to find out what I could do about this. And I did eventually find a provider that I learned a ton from and received bioidentical hormone replacement. All 3, progesterone, estradiol, and testosterone. Do not settle for someone telling you that this is the new normal, because I promise you, if they were suffering, they would not accept that this is the new normal. Plain and simple. We must advocate for ourselves and for others as well. But we must advocate for ourselves. And that is what I did. Does that make me special? No, it just made me realize that I could not continue going the route that I was going because I was going to lose my job. I was not going to be able to finish projects that I had started, school that I had enrolled in, and all of those things because I did not have the energy. I did not have the mental capacity. And no, I wasn't depressed. No, I wasn't full of anxiety. I was just level 0 for my hormones. Once I started down the path of hormone replacement, strangely enough, without a change in my diet or my exercise routine, the weight came off. Strangely, I went back to sleeping 3 to 5 hours a day. Brain fog was gone. I lost the weight that I gained. I felt more energetic, more like myself. And dare I say, yes, ladies and gentlemen, my libido returned. Strange how that works. Why wouldn't you want to be whole, back the way you were? There's nothing wrong with it. And it's not about accepting that I'm getting older. It's the fact that I have responsibilities, and those responsibilities have to be handled. This is not 1960. This is not 1950, where I am a stay-at-home mom and a homemaker, and my only responsibility is to do a load of laundry and a fucking dishwasher load and cook a meal. No, I have patients to care for. I have education modules that I need to teach. I have podcasts that I need to produce and put on. Come on, people. So, if this is unacceptable to you, find yourself someone who uses a reputable source for your bioidentical hormone replacement. And I specifically say BHRT. We're not using equine estrogen. We need estradiol, progesterone, and testosterone. Women's health is real health care. Women's health is important. Everyone's health is important, because without health, what do you have? You have nothing. So, I promise you that if those hot flashes happened in scrotums, Budweiser would sponsor a solution. I should probably not say that specific name, but beer companies would sponsor a solution. All right? 7 years of symptoms is not a phase. It's life. And it's policy failure, quite frankly. All right? Office desk fan, night sweat, sheet change. What? Empty boardroom chair with 1 in 10 left? Come on. This is not acceptable. This is not acceptable. All right. So, I tell you, ladies and gentlemen that support these ladies, find the answers you need so that you can get back to functioning at your normal level. Menopause is no joke. It's no joke. It is a medical condition, just like erectile dysfunction, just like tonsillitis, just like bronchitis, just like pneumonia. Get treatment so you can return to your normal functioning level. So, please feel free to send me your stories. I'm dying to hear them. I have a few, which is what got me started on this. Hearing patients come to me and tell me that someone else told them this is their new normal, that they're just going to have to suck it up, that they got to deal with it. No, we don't. And I promise you, your partners don't want you to have to deal with it either. They want you back. They want your normal self back. Make it happen. Make it. Thanks for joining me this week on the Salty Goddess podcast. Menopause and the way the medical society has been treating it thus far is what has made me salty this week. So why don't you guys keep texting me, emailing me, sending me notes about what's making y'all salty? I'll do some research. We'll talk about it, and maybe we'll get to the bottom of it. In the meanwhile, make sure you share this with someone else who needs to hear that it's totally normal to have these issues and to find treatment for them. Until next week, this is the Salty Goddess Podcast. I'm Margaret Perry. And hey, don't forget to check out Amazon for our Salty Therapy coloring books. Don't forget to check out some of the suggestions I've made about some other podcasts and some other books. Salty Goddess Press has published 3 books about the Wait What series. You find yourself working from home, you find yourself in leadership, or you find yourself in sales now, and you were never expecting it. And don't forget to go and see Back Porch Bitchin' podcast from my buddy Patrick Parker out of Virginia. It's a wonderful little program he's got over there. My friends, thank you again. And Margaret Perry is signing off for the week. We'll see you next week. Check me out on TikTok. You'll see a few lives coming up as well. Follow, share, subscribe, download, comment. Let me know what you're thinking.